Hello, welcome to Have a Go, and I'm Alan. Today I'm going to start working on this casting, beginning with trying to sand the bottom of this silly thing flat. See how it rocks? That's not what I want. Once again, this does in seconds what would take me ages. I think I may need to do some filing on the bottom here though. Problem is, it's such a weird shape, it's hard to work on. If you're thinking to yourself, he doesn't know what he's doing, you're right to a degree. Hopefully this is helping you see what I'm trying to do. It's hard to see with the camera, but with that I'm able to see that the block is actually clearing all the parts here. With the torch here I'm able to see that the set overways are actually clearing this underside here, which means that the rocking, because the pads are not even. Some obnoxious person has their farty motorbike somewhere nearby, because what the world really wants is to hear their pathetic little piddly motorbike. That's what we're starting with. According to the packet, the blue spotting ink is assembled in the USA from local and imported materials. I'm going to have to come up with a way of clamping this. That's got it. Right, I've got this to a point where I'm about happy with it. So now need to sort out the slot here that the engine stud will go through. This goes 25.4mm into this and 16mm in. Why 16? Because you can actually feel the punch sink into this. Right, need another one on the other side. I'm going to have to hand drill this because there's no way I'll be able to hold that in the drill press vise. There's going to be a washer on it, so I'm not worried on that front. Oh, that was not fun. Now for a whole load of fighting. When I think of how Maker's Host just put a router in his woodwork routing table and routed through it, and here I am. I don't want to hear about how this is building character either. I got character and not many people like it, I think. Now to drill a hole. I'm going to tap the steel plate for the thread because I know that will be very sound, but I'm going to drill the aluminium underneath in 10mm so that I don't get any problems with cross-threading. Thanks to this little XY table setup, I didn't need to reposition between any of those drill holes. This has been an excellent investment. If you have a pillar drill set up with T-slots in the work table, I highly recommend getting one of these little XY tables to clamp work down onto, because Lord knows you're not going to adjust the T-slots and clamp this directly. As with the ways, I'm starting with a number 1 tap, then going to a number 2, and then doing the finishing tap. It'll be less strain on the taps overall, even if it's going to take me longer. So this is the number 1 tap. You can feel when the tap finishes because it stops cutting and it just starts turning. Put a bit more gravy on. And the finishing tap. You may recall in the last video I spoke about how the M6 taps have the points at the end of the tap, so do the M5s in the lower. However, M8, 10 and 12 all have flat bottoms to them, so they're a little bit different. However, they don't start to completely cut until a little bit down from the tip, so you still can't tap all the way down. Put the engine stud in. But you never seen a vise being used as a wrench before. So I can only use the hit Allen keys in this orientation now, because if I try them in the other one it's going to hit that engine stud. So that's the base completely finished. I can do it, but only in a little bit, because if I try and do a full revolution, like I said, it'll hit the engine stud. Right. By now I'm not really expecting it to fit. And it's not. I have to file off more on this side, but that's how it's going to go together. You can slide this back and forth for turning tapers and whatnot, and then crank down on that nut and it will hold the tailstock firmly in the offset that you want it on. Then after you finish, slide it back to the centre and crank it down again so that it stays on centre. Just have to drill some set screws through here and a couple here for a gib strip, and file down that part, of course. This is all guff that came out with the drill, and I need to get it off my ways. Because the last thing I want is a mixture of sand and burnt flour acting as a nice abrasive all over my ways. For this next part I need to take the carriage off the lathe. Now we're cooking. I just remembered I got to put these jam screws in and the gib screws. Silly me. Alright, need to flip this around so that the boring part is here. While I have that with no spindle through it, I might just drill some oil holes to go down to the bearings. So at the moment there's nothing there, which I don't like. Why are you like this? It is spinning the right way, so I'm not sure why it's making that noise. Right, it needs to clear both the shaft collar and also the barrel of it. A bit of cotton wool in my new oil holes so that only oil goes in them. If I'm ever rich and famous, I might get some drip oilers to put in there. Not done with the top part of this tailstock before we bore it out. Drill holes through here and here for the set overway adjustment, and a couple of holes there for the gib strip. M5 bolts all round, so we'll start off with doing the pilots. Okay, I just worked out why it was noisy before. I think it was set to hammer by accident. The hole diameter is actually a bit bigger than it should be, which is why one, I jumped straight to the finishing tap, and two, why it's so easy to tap all together. Just occurred to me. Set this cutting now so I don't have to wait quite so long later. The longest M5 bolts I have is 30mm. I have a terrible suspicion it's not going to be enough. Barely. If I want it to stay in the middle. These, on the other hand, should fit. Alright, nice and tight, but hopefully put some dimples on it. Put this back on before I forget again. For want of a millimetre, I'm going to have to put the carriage back on and take another millimetre diameter off this. And get some longer jam screws. I need to get some 40s and not the 30s I've got on there. Once I've done that, I can hopefully start boring this silly thing. The other option, of course, is to mount the base on the faceplate and take a mill off that. Might be my imagination, but I think that runs a bit smoother. Right, I want this to be clean, so I've got a true representation of the height of this thing. The top of that is about level with the thing. So let's take a millimetre off it and see what we get. Alright, before I start chopping I'd better measure. It is 24.7. So take it down to 23.7 and then we'll see how we're getting on. It is now 23.6. I'm going to have to scrape in this top surface all over again. I think that will have got it after I've scraped it in. Alright, I'm going to put some music on and I'll come back to you in a bit. No, it's not completely finished. And no, I don't care. All the parts that are going on it will have support that they need. Now, you may recall that those other M5 bolts I had were too short. These, on the other hand, are not. And yes, I'm annoyed with myself for not drilling these holes straight. There should be all the prep work for the boring done. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.